guys? Master Whitfield. We got Coach Steve here. We got the algorithm. So we're going to do a quick, probably 30-second intro. This intro, we're just going to put this at the beginning of every one. So if you've been here before, just click ahead to the past all this. We have some categories, striking and ground. You notice there's a lot of punches, kicks, clinching, chokes, all these different things. There's a ton of subcategories. We
try to keep it as simple as possible. This was as simple as we could get it, right? We wanted to be as simple as it could be.
So if you guys have an issue, like, we're really sorry. We're trying to keep it as simple to make these videos not 30 minutes long each.
Right. Basically, the idea is we think we're using the word algorithm correctly, and that we have these traits of a martial art, these attributes that we're looking at different arts and seeing if it has any of these in it, and that's how we're going to kind of distinguish whether it's more martial or more of just an art, right?
So, like I said, this would be at the beginning of every video. Just click ahead as far as you need to go to the actual start of the video if you've seen this before. All right, thanks, guys. What's up, guys? Master Whitfield, Coach Steve. So we are going to start. Let's start with the beginning of the alphabet, A.
A, perfect.
All right, we're going to start with Aikido. Aikido, Japanese martial art. A lot of hand gripping, a lot of hand fighting.
What does it translate into?
Aikido is like, Aikido translate, there's like,
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
no, it's like gentle, or it's very soft. It's meant to be like, if you break it down, it's like gentle, soft. The founder was just like, he was like, I think, World War II or something, and he saw a lot of death and maybe World War I, I think. Don't quote me on that.
We'll get back to you on that.
No, I'm pretty sure it was like World War I, or he came back and saw a lot of death and destruction and stuff, and gentle, free way. He wanted all the martial arts back in the day were just Jiu-Jitsu, pounding, breaking.
I just realized this too. Do is way, right?
Yes.
As opposed to Jitsu being more fight.
Yeah,
like
Jiu-Jitsu is going to be more like, so Jiu-Jitsu, when we get into the Jiu-Jitsu, we'll see all that.
So right then and there, that kind of tells you in the direction we're going to be heading.
Yeah,
right?
so once you start getting into like, when we get to something like ninjutsu, they didn't feel like ninjutsu was a good thing to put ninjutsu do. It doesn't
roll off the tongue.
Yeah. So with the Aikido, we'll start off with striking.
And there is an Aikijitsu, right?
There's a lot. There's so many Aiki.
Yeah.
There's so many different Aiki, but we're talking about Aikido.
Because this is the biggest in the category.
It is. This is the biggest. I mean, there's a lot of categories. So with the striking, this is going to be pretty easy. There's no striking in Aikido.
Zero.
There's zero striking.
And if I know very little, but just from what I remembered reading as a kid, there's no offense in Aikido at all, right?
There's not a lot. I mean, like, you can make anything offense, but no, not really.
But it's all meant to be received. It's all meant to be kind of as an answer to something.
Yes. Yeah. So because you're not supposed to be aggressive. Martial arts, we're supposed to be defensive and things like that. So why would I come up and punch you in the face if I'm trying to be defensive, or I'm trying to come up and grab your wrist?
Right.
So with a lot of this one's going to be pretty easy.
So zero striking.
Zero striking.
So that in itself tells you that, okay, where we're at right now, if it is still a martial art, which I'm not saying it's not, it's at least not as martial as some other arts, just because there's zero strikes in it, right?
Yes. So there's no knees, there's no elbows. There is clinch fighting.
Not clinch striking.
There is clinch strike. There is clinch fighting. But when we say we're doing this as far as clinch fighting.
As in striking.
Yeah, so you're allowed to elbow, punch, and kick.
But that is not, they don't
Yeah, but they do. And when I say clinching, they're grabbing hands and elbows and joint locks. There are some chokes. There are some chokes in Aikido when we get over there. But now, before we go on, we'll talk about the sparring. There's no sparring. There's no sparring in Aikido.
Too dangerous.
It is just too dangerous of a style, guys. As I've done Aikido, so I'm not making fun of it, guys. But you'll have people go, it's too dangerous and stuff like that. When you have to have a style where, grab my hand, you're grabbing wrong. Grab the other way. All right. Yes, thank you. Now it works. When you have a style where it's predicated on this person doing exactly what you need them to do at the right time, the right moment, with almost no resistance.
Sort of like the demonstrations where the guy's like, okay, punch me, and the guy's running at you with his fist out
Yes.
like this, right?
So little stuff like that. All right. So there's no sparring. There's none of this. There's no striking. The ground.
It's not looking good for the martial aspect so far.
We're going to fight. They might kill it over here.
Right. This is
All
what
right.
it's more about, though, is And then really, this should be more striking and grappling, not necessarily ground, because grappling can happen on the feet as well.
100%. This is very, like I said,
Yeah,
we're trying to be as broad as possible. We're trying to make it as, because we could have, trust me guys,
Yeah.
when we were making this,
We had discussion of this whole thing.
it was like this whole thing kept going to the
Right.
wall over there.
Yeah. We got
So we'll talk about ground. We'll talk about some takedowns. All right. They have a lot of takedowns, but recently we were just talking about it. Aikido has no leg attacks. Period. Which doesn't mean there's no osotogari.
No, which is a like a foot.
Yeah,
Right.
There's no reach with the foot.
Right.
In other words, I can't touch. They
I can't
usually
kick your leg out.
doesn't mean they can't. They just don't waste time.
They
on
don't
it.
train it, though.
They do more with just the upper body.
And with
so,
this series, what we're doing is we're assuming that if they don't train it, they don't do it, right?
Yes.
If it's not being trained, it's not being practiced, it's not going to happen during the fight.
it's
So
going to be pretty hard. It's going to be pretty hard. You have the whole term like you fight like you train. It's like in some cases that is true, and some martial arts do better at it than others. So if we got some takedowns, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then the takedowns, are they still? There are no offensive takedowns, right? The takedowns are all in response to something else.
Yes, and it's mostly, like I said, joint lock manipulation.
So it's more pain compliant.
Yes.
Takedowns, right?
And they used to, back in the day, like they used to say like people use Aikido for like police officers and stuff like that. Then they realized they're not compliant.
Right.
And usually you have to take them down with
Which means
maybe a double leg or something like
you
that.
have to hurt them in order for them to go down. Right?
Yes, I have to. Maybe I would double leg you, which is not Aikido.
No.
I would have to get your arm on your back, and then I would use a wrist lock, which then they called it Aikido.
By that point,
that's just a wrist lock.
Yeah. By that point, you've already got them on the ground. You've already done a lot of violent things to them. It's not,
Yes,
it's not
that is
Aikido
correct.
anymore, right?
Yeah. So lower body, no.
None
They
at
don't
all,
do anything
right?
lower.
No
nothing.
submissions, no attacks.
They
Can't
don't
touch
have
their legs.
any
Right?
submissions.
So that right
Strikes.
there's
no
pretty
strikes.
limiting right there,
Yeah.
right?
There's no strikes on the ground. Cranks. They do not do that. They don't.
Crank, and when
they,
we talk about crank, we're talking about grabbing the neck and twisting it.
Yes. If
Cervical
you guys,
crank,
if you guys
things
don't know
like
what a crank is, yeah, that's kind of what a crank is. It's maneuvering the spine and the neck in a painful situation.
Fun stuff.
Chokes. They have some chokes.
Aikido does have chokes.
They do have chokes.
Okay.
Yeah. They do have. They have a rear naked choke.
They do.
They do a little bit on the ground.
Okay.
It's not as modern as your current Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but they do have some chokes on the ground. They do have some
And there are
side control
probably
positions.
Sorry, I don't know what you would call
Yeah.
somebody who practices Aikido. What would you, Aikido?
They're just calling them Aikido. Yeah,
Aikidist.
yeah,
Aikido.
that's
I know
fine.
that's not right.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Anyway, some are better than others, right? So
Yeah.
we're not just looking at the art; we're looking at the fighter too. you know?
Yes.
So what we have to do with this is we have to assume, the art, right? So
Yeah.
the art does have chokes. It does have takedowns. Okay.
Yes.
So to me, that's the fact that it has a rear naked choke. That's a big bonus. That's a big. That's points towards.
Because how many times have we talked about back?
Yeah.
If you can take somebody's back,
The rear naked choke, in my opinion, is the most powerful martial arts technique to ever exist.
and they have that,
Yeah.
and
So
they
if it's
teach
got
it.
that, that's good. That's
They teach
big,
it.
You know.
And now sparring on the ground. This is a tricky one because, like I said, they do have groundwork. They do have newaza. They do a lot of the groundwork, and
Which probably depends on which gym you go to.
yes,
Right.
and they'll get the takedown and kind of hold a side control. A lot of times it's scarf hold position, like like in the running position,
Yeah.
scarf hold position, where they're facing the
He's
opponent.
referring more to like a judo type pin,
Yeah.
where you've thrown somebody.
Maybe you got a head and arm or something, or you're under
Which
the.
really, we're going back to that, talking about that's one thing we didn't write down was pinning.
Yeah.
Pinning really, Jiu-Jitsu is kind of the only grappling art or grappling sport where there's not really a finish by pin. You can pin them and it's encouraged.
Yes.
But you can't win by pin.
Yes.
Right.
So Aikido doesn't really do sparring at all.
Yeah.
So if we look at all these categories, we have 2 right now.
So with Aikido, I don't know anything about the history of it. So like we were saying, I would imagine most of the takedowns and chokes it has are sort of left over from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, correct?
Yeah, because the founder did judo and did jujitsu. So he
So
wanted
would
to
have
take
had been-
he wanted to take all of these striking and
Right.
all this and all these different attacks that would cause maim and damage to someone. He took all those out, and that's what he came up
So it would
with.
have had to have been a little bit later then, because Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. It was around it was around World War I or World War
Probably,
II.
I would think World
Yeah.
War II, because if he was doing judo, which was
So put in the
fairly new around
comments,
that time.
whoever puts it in there
Please
first.
help us with the dates on that.
Yeah, the dates are always sketchy when I start going back really far. If
Well, I
I
was
haven't,
gonna say,
if I haven't done my research in a long, if I haven't done research on it in a long time, they all start because I have a lot of a lot up here on martial arts.
So it's similar to what if we're going to do a series on judo, and the founder Jigoro Kano sort of took Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, and I don't want to say softened it, but he made it more towards school children could do it.
Yes.
People could do it more for physical development than for the martial aspect of it, right? And it sounds sort of like that's kind of, they took that with Aikido even further.
Yes,
would that
that is correct. He went way overboard on that.
Right.
So, Coach, I think it's pretty easy here. We're going to go art.
I'm going to say it's maybe 20% martial, 80% art. Could we say that?
We're going to go, but it's definitely going to be on the more art side.
Not to say that you couldn't use it in a fight, not to say that it's worthless.
It's got a choke,
like that.
but if I took my kid, said I want to teach them how to defend themselves,
it would take them a lot longer to be confident in defending themselves using only Aikido than it would to say only wrestling.
I use Aikido things when I spar Jiu-Jitsu. I use them when I do striking, when I'm doing the standing style.
But it's a supplement.
But it's a very small thing. It's not like I'm going to go, I do Aikido and that's it.
Yeah.
So we're going to probably go with art on this, guys.
Which is not to say that it's not a worthwhile pursuit. It's not to say anything negative
Are
about
you
it.
doing it for the art?
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's cool. Yeah, do that.
But what happens is we get into the argument, and you'll see this later on through our videos, is people say it's more than it is.
Right.
That's really what we're doing here. If you're doing it as an art form,
and if you do your
for it,
research,
guys.
you know, if you're ready to face the truth, we've all seen videos of Aikido guys going against MMA fighters. It never, ever ends well for them.
Yes.
Right? In itself, it's not a complete fighting art, right?
Yes.
We can agree?
It's, unfortunately, I mean, we're going to find out a lot of this stuff as we do this, guys. So if you guys have any comments.
Thank you, guys. I'm sure you will. Please let us know
I'm sure you're ready. You got the keyboard. You're already typing it right now.
us with comments. Yeah.
We're going to actually turn off the comment section for this video.
Be a good idea.
No comments on this video, guys.
No further comments.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. We'll see you guys
All
next
right,
time.
guys. We did not digress.
Not even at all.
We did a little bit.
We're digressing right now.
Yeah, we digressed a little bit earlier when we started going to other martial arts.
Yeah.
But I think
And now we're digressing about digressing, so we should just cut it before we digress any further.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.